On weekday mornings, Amanda Smith of Rancho Mission Viejo can often be found guiding a quiet room of clients through a yoga practice, encouraging them to bend, breathe, and just be as they sort through the stresses and traumas that can bring one to child's pose, a position she has often needed to fold into herself. Amanda's oldest child, Lyndon, now 11, was diagnosed with cancer at age 7 in 2019 and luckily survived after a 6-month battle of chemo and radiation. In 2020, shortly after Lyndon was pronounced cancer-free, Amanda's mother tragically took her own life after battling mental health struggles. After processing each of those immense trials during the pandemic, Amanda felt it was time to undergo certification to be a yoga instructor, as well as finally reckon publicly with her orientation. Something that until now she had largely eschewed in an attempt to please others. But with remarkable strength, the married mother of 3 has learned to exhale and summon the desire to share, if only to make the path slightly less difficult for her fellow sojourners. Amanda Smith was raised in Idaho and then Minnesota during her teens, where she was surrounded with a conservative mindset both in the church and with her family. They didn't attend church much, but made it very clear that it was not okay to be gay. Amanda thus grew up in a state of shame, always feeling like something was wrong with me, as she had sensed she was attracted to girls from a young age. Of her teen years, she says, "I tried to overcorrect. I had all these boyfriends and was actually quite mean to people who I found out were gay or lesbian, like some sort of defense mechanism." When she was 19, Amanda told her family she was gay and would not be hiding it anymore. They refused to meet her girlfriend of 9 months at the time, said they wanted nothing to do with having a gay child. While living with her girlfriend and another gay male friend, Amanda said she assimilated to an awesome LGBTQ community and I finally felt I was being true to who I am. While Amanda says that felt so good, looking back, this was a sad time because of the guilt and shame she carried and the fact that she couldn't maintain a relationship with her family, who believed this was just a stage for Amanda because she had had several boyfriends in high school when she was trying to be something she wasn't. She'd been raised in a house where she was continually reminded by her mom, "I just want you to marry a nice Mormon boy." Through this, Amanda maintained a testimony, but it came with so much guilt and shame. She started making dangerous decisions and spiraled to a dark place. But once she hit rock bottom, Amanda found her legs and knew she needed to make some changes. Amanda moved to Bayou-approved housing where she could start a fresh life on the straight and narrow, trying to pass as straight in her newfound anonymity. She wanted a relationship with her family and the church again and felt those both were impossible if she dated women. She'd had several leaders pound in the point that as you get closer to Jesus and make correct decisions, it will get easier over time. Looking back, she now acknowledges they may have meant well, but had no idea or experience in what she was dealing with. She tried to date a few guys in Provo, which only made her feel like she'd rather end up alone. At that time, a family friend casually mentioned she had a brother in California, and she thought he and Amanda might get along. The friend knew of Amanda's past of dating women, which at the time Amanda outwardly played off as a phase or that she was bi. She says, "I let them believe what they wanted to." Amanda met the brother Dan and something sparked. The two started dating. Eventually, she moved to join him in California. She says, "This was the first guy I'd ever dated who I thought, I really like this person. My sexuality aside, I knew he was an amazing person." She thought she could make it work. Dan knew of Amanda's past with women, but was willing to look past that. So they decided to tie the knot and set up shop in Southern California. 4 years into their marriage, right after their second child, Ledger, now 9, was born, Amanda became consumed with the thought she was lying to her husband. One night, they went out to dinner, and she told him, "This isn't a phase. I'm lesbian, queer." Dan replied that he figured, and that as long as she wanted to be with him, he didn't care. That was an aha moment for Amanda, where she finally, for the first time, felt a brief respite from the shame and self-hatred she had carried for so long after trying everything to change this part of her. "I'd married a man in the temple, had callings," had leaders say. "It'll get easier as you grow closer." But nope, this is who I am. Amanda has continued to battle those feelings of shame, and in the past year, she's put in a lot of healing work to try to come to a place of full self-acceptance. Taylor Swift's song lyric, "Shame never made anyone less gay," played through Amanda's head as a mantra, and she decided she didn't like this elephant in the room. She was tired of sweeping it under the rug. She'd have moments where she'd come out to a close friend, and it would make her so emotional she'd started crying. She hated how she'd tried so hard to have this taken away, but she just couldn't change it. It was about this time that Lyndon was diagnosed with cancer. Amanda says, during that time, things were so hard, it was terrible, but I had a distraction and didn't have to think about myself. I got to shelf it for a while. After Lyndon finished treatment, COVID hit, and 2 weeks into quarantine, Amanda got the devastating call about her mother's overdose. As the national political fervor also swirled, headlines thrust LGBTQ issues in Amanda's face, and friends and family often shared their negative views of LGBTQ people while around her. It got to be too much. Everything on her shelf came crashing down. In 2024, Amanda told her husband she needed to open up and publicly share that she was in a mixed orientation marriage with a man she loved, but her attractions toward women were still an undeniable part of her identity, though she has never pursued an interest in anyone else since being married. The nudges continued, and Amanda started coming out publicly on her social media feed, which had garnered a significant following prior when she had shared the details of Lyndon's cancer treatment and her mother's death. Adding the words "in a mixed orientation marriage" and "marriage" to her Instagram profile did thrust Amanda in the court of public opinion, and she faced naysayers on all sides. Some friends and family really struggled at first, assuming this meant she was leaving her family and the church. But they've since seen nothing's really changed. Now they just know this about Amanda. Some in the LGBTQ community also criticized her for not living an authentic life by choosing to stay with her husband and in the church. And some parents reached out to ask Amanda to speak to their gay kids to try to promote mixed orientation marriages as an ideal option for their kids, to which she'd reply, "It's not what I'd prescribe." She recognizes that Dan is one of a kind, saying, "Most won't find a spouse who is super loving, supportive, and doesn't need them to be super sexual. It's hard, even for me, who has an awesome marriage and partner. It's still so hard." She acknowledges that if she had been a young adult now in today's climate, some of her decisions might have been different. She appreciates that her bishop and Relief Society president both reached out with support and said they'd have her back if anyone gave her trouble. Amanda's also immensely grateful to have the support of Dan, who she says is the best person I know. She continues, "Even though I am queer and attracted to women, I feel God put my husband in my life for a reason. He's the best person in the whole world. He's so incredible. We have such an amazing relationship and so much trust and love for each other. There are times I've wondered, is this sustainable when there's not that passion other marriages have? But there's a lot of trust, respect, love, and friendship we have that other relationships may not. It's hard for both of us, and probably harder for me because I perhaps could have more of a passionate relationship with a female. But it's also hard to think I could ever connect with someone the way I connect with Dan. I have no desire to lose that. While the Smith household has made it clear to their kids, which now include another son, Pearson age 4, what it means to be gay, and that they'd be fine whether they developed crushes on boys or girls, Amanda has only opened up about her orientation to Lyndon, who is now 11. One day, she confided that her first crush was Princess Jasmine, to which Lyndon replied she only thought that was funny because Jasmine was a cartoon. She knows, and it's no big deal. We've made it normal. Amanda says her extended family is now more supportive of her, but she often wonders if the reason people are so loving is because she's still going to church and married to a man. While she likes attending church for the feeling in there, she definitely still struggles with stances on many topics that pressure people to be a certain way. I just truly believe God is a God of love. If something were to ever happen to Dan, I know I wouldn't try to go find another man to be with. And I don't think if I chose to be with a woman, God would say, "Well, Amanda, you did a great job doing all those things, but then this, Sorry, no heaven for you. I know he'd know and understand my heart and would embrace me the same. While Amanda has married a good Mormon boy and did so because she loves him, she now confidently recognizes that she's not still with Dan just for her family or the church's expectations. She shed the shame cycle that would keep her in a relationship for reasons of expectation and says if she wanted to leave, she would. But Amanda says, I love my family and I'm at peace with what we have, and I don't want to tear my family apart. It's not perfect by any means, as no family is, but my life is so good and I'm happy.